Hi everyone, I'm Jed. For the past few years, I have been doing something at various conventions that I call the Gadget and Device and Toy Petting Zoo, where I bring various items and let people play with them. Part of the point is just to show off some of my stuff, but part of it is also to give people a chance to try things, see if they like them, if they're interested, before deciding whether to buy them. I can't go to conventions this year because of the pandemic, and it occurred to me that it might be fun and interesting to do a little bit of a sort of a petting zoo at home that I realize misses the entire point of the petting part of the petting zoo because you can't pet these items, but I thought that it might be fun anyway to show some of them. And I realize that the production values on this particular video are pretty low. It's my first time doing a video from home. We'll see how it goes. I may try to learn more about how to do it better in the future. I've been reading a lot of books lately, and a lot of these books are really big books. Here, for example, it's a thick book, it's a heavy book, and I would like to be able to read these books while I'm doing various things, such as preparing food or washing my hands. The problem is that some of these big books just don't stay open very well while you put them flat on a counter. So I started trying to figure out what I could do about that. And I saw an ad for an item that would clip onto a book and hold it open. Unfortunately, those particular items were out of stock, but that got me started looking at similar kinds of things. And I found out that there's a whole category of items called book weights that are used specifically to put a weight on a book in order to keep it open. You could, of course, use any heavy object or even light object that happens to be sitting around. For instance, I sometimes end up stacking up, devices or cups or plates or silverware, whatever happens to be nearby. But sometimes those things aren't heavy enough or aren't stable enough. They roll off, they slide off, the book ends up falling closed anyway. And it's just really not, it's a nice improvised solution, but it's not a very consistent solution. So these book weights exist to solve that problem. The first item that I'm going to talk about today isn't a weight at all. It's called a thumb page spreader. It looks like this. It's super pretty. It comes in a variety of thumb hole sizes, and you put your thumb through it, and then you can use it to hold a book open with one hand. As you can see, the page shape of a curved open book is more or less the same as the curve of the spreader, but it's not necessarily an ideal option. I'll come back to that later. The next item that I obtained, apparently sometimes rather than book weights, these are called bookworms. It's a tube of cloth. It's filled with some heavy stuff, and it can be used to hold books open. This next one is also the same general idea. Cloth on the outside, metal on the inside. In this case, a flat metal disc, and it can double as a fidget toy. That's nice. Finally, the last one that I'm going to talk about today is called a gimbal. And it looks like this. It's made of plastic, unlike the other items. And it is extensible. And it has clips to hold the book open. So I'm going to go through the pros and cons of each of these. Okay, the first of these items is this spread made of wood. It's from an Etsy person who goes by Wooda Kuda. I'll put links for all of these in the notes on this video. And it really seems like it ought to be a good idea. When I bought it, I was holding a big book that was unwieldy and hard to keep open. And it really is kind of nice to just be able to hold with one thumb and have this entire book held open with the pages spread. But it's not really all that different. Okay, that's not a good example. It's not really all that different from just holding it with a thumb without the spreader. That doesn't look like it stays open all that well, but I guess I end up doing this a lot. It's slightly uncomfortable, but it works fairly well. I guess for people with smaller hands, it might be harder, and these do come with small thumb hole sizes. You have to tell them what size thumb hole you want. That said, very pretty and not very expensive and might be just what you need. The next one that I got is this lavender scented bookworm. I was a little concerned about that at first because I didn't want it to be lavender scented, but in fact you can order it without lavender scent. So that's what this one is. It is nicely heavy. Also, I believe this particular one only comes in this fabric, although of course there are many, many others that you can buy. If you search for book weight or bookworm, you will find lots of them. I did like this print. The way it works is that you lay it across the book to keep it open. It does mean that you have to pick up the bookworm every time that you want to turn a page, and that can be a little unwieldy, but overall it works pretty well. Some books lie flat pretty well all by themselves when you have them open, but even these books, if you get near the beginning or the end, may start to have a hard time staying open. So with a book like this, you can drape the bookworm across the top to hold it open. You have to lift it up to turn the page and move it around on the page as you read until you get to the bottom of the page, and then you have to repeat. The next item is not from Etsy. It's from a company called Dragon in Knots, dragoninKnots.com. They sell a bunch of different things, but one of the things they sell is book weights. They're all of this general design with one disc-shaped weight at each end and a fabric segment connecting them. It looks nice. There is again the issue that it covers up some of the text and that you have to pick it up every now and then and turn the page and put it back down. It does not spread as far as the bookworm. One problem that I ran into with the bookworm is that it stretches out across any but the very biggest books. It sort of flops off the ends. It's not really a problem, but it's a little unwieldy sometimes. And this one is nicely a little bit smaller. It's also wider and covers up more of the text. Another common use for book weights is in the kitchen when you need to keep a cookbook open. Sometimes it'll stay open by itself, but sometimes it won't. So a book weight like this can help a lot with that. And in the case of recipes, you may not have to turn the pages as much, although you may still need to move the book weight around as you read in order to get a good view of other parts of the page. Finally, this is called the Gimble Traveller. It bills itself on the website as the world's only lightweight telescopic folding book holder for paperbacks and hardbacks. I was really dubious about it. It's plastic. I don't really like the look of it all that much. It does come in a couple of different colors. There's the whitish color and the dark grayish color, and then there's a pinkish color. It comes from the UK. You can sometimes get them at your local bookstore. I ordered it directly from the inventor of it in the UK. They're inexpensive. And I was not really thinking that I was going to like it much, but in fact, it turns out to be great. It does exactly what I want it to do. It has these curved ends so that it's mostly quite easy to pull a page out from under one side and put it back under the other side. You never have to remove this while it's on the book. It surprisingly to me sits flat. There's a flat side here and it'll just sit flat on a surface and it makes the book feel really stable. I don't like how it looks all that much, but it's very useful. It is my favorite of this set in terms of capabilities and usefulness. The gimbal takes a little bit of manipulation to get onto the book in the first place. Generally, for a big book, you're going to have to expand the arms of it And you can push the ends in a little bit to make the device shorter if it's not holding the book tightly enough, as you just saw. As you can see, it does a pretty good job of holding the book flat. The arms don't block the text very much. You can shift them slightly up or down without having to move a big heavy thing. If you want to turn the page, you can just do that. Sometimes it can be a little difficult to see the inside edge of a page that is curved upward like this, but mostly that isn't such a problem. This center part locks into place in a position in which the book is held open, so that also helps a lot. Fold it up and you're ready to go. So that's the first installment of my virtual petting zoo. I hope you've enjoyed it. I hope to do a few more with other devices and gadgets and fun toys that I've acquired recently. I'll see you next time.